Cable stitches are these lovely textured sinuous stitches that pop out and look very complex, but they're not really nearly as complex to knit as one might imagine. Here is a cable chart, and you can visually see on this one, for example, the stitch that is here goes over top of the stitch that's here, moves over here, and it goes from right to left. And this is a 1x1 LC. It's also sometimes called a 1x1 F front, because you hold the first stitch to the front when you're working the second stitch. It's also sometimes called a 2L cable or a 2 front cable, because 2 stitches are involved. Here we have a 2x2 LC or a 4L cable or a 4 front cable or a 2x2 front cable. But in this case it's called a 2x2 LC. All of those names are the same thing. This is a slightly different thing. It's more of a traveling stitch, and you're passing a knit stitch over a purl stitch, and you're keeping the knits as knits and the purls as purls, and this knit stitch will travel back and forth across these rows. These are cables that go from left to right, and these are called right cables. So this is a 2x2 right, or a 4 right, or a 4 back cable, because the first 2 stitches are held to the back, or a 2x2 back. And there are some other notations as well, but they're all the same thing. And here we have a 1x1 right. The second stitch moves to the right across the first stitch. I'll show you how to do these stitches now. You'll need a cable needle. I use a small DPN. You can use specialized cable needles, whatever you like. The other thing to note is that usually cables are worked over a reverse stockinette background to make them pop. Okay, so I have done up to row 6, and now we're on row 7. I've knit 2, I've purled 1, and now I'm going to do a 1x1 left cable. So I take that first stitch on the left needle, which I would normally knit first. I'm going to knit it second. I'm going to take it and hold it to the front because I want it to go toward the left. I knit the next stitch, and now I can either put this stitch back on the left needle and knit it, or I could just knit it right off the cable needle. And there is the first cable crossing done. It's not very clear here, but it will be soon. Now I'm going to do 3 purl stitches, and now I just do 4 regular knit stitches, now I do 2 purl stitches, and this is going to be a traveling stitch or a knit over purl stitch, or as this is called, it's going to be a 1/1 left purl cable. So we need this knit stitch to go over here and this purl stitch to come over here. So again, this one is a left leaning, so we take the stitch off the needle onto the cable needle, bring it to the front, we purl that second stitch. I'm just going to put that back on the left needle and knit that stitch. Now I purl 3, I knit 4. Actually, I'm going to mark this. I'm going to take a ruler and put it right here so that I know exactly where I am. You can use sticky notes, you can use all sorts of things. I like the ruler because it's easy to move, it holds things nice and flat. Okay, so now we need to do a 1x1 right cable. So in this case, we take the first stitch off the left needle and hold it to the back of our work. Knit that second stitch, and then we can knit off of the cable needle, or we can move the stitch onto the left needle and work it from there. Alright, now I purl one and I knit two. On the return row, except for the edge stitches, I basically just knit the knits and purl the purls as they appear. So while I have the chart in front of me, I don't really need to consult it, because if I see a purl here, I purl it. If on the back, when the back is facing me, I see a knit, I knit it. This is called knitting the knits and purling the purls. Okay, so now I'm on row 9, and I knit 2. These are my edge stitches. This is my garter edge. Then I purl a stitch, I knit 2. I crossed on the previous right side row, but this time I just knit across. I purl 3, and then I'm going to do a 2 by 2 left cross or left cable. So when we're going to the left, we want the first 2 stitches going over top of the next 2, so we have to hold them to the front. Knit the next 2 stitches, and either knit these off the cable needle or put them back onto the left needle. Then I purl 3. I knit the one that is a traveling stitch. I purl 3. And now I'm going to do a 2 by 2 right cross, which is right here. So I need to take those 2 first stitches off the left needle and hold them to the back, because the third and the fourth stitch are going to be crossing in front of them, going up to the right. And I know that I'm sometimes putting them on the left needle, sometimes knitting off the cable needle or working off the cable needle. Whatever is most convenient is really all that you need to worry about. It doesn't matter whether you're consistent and do it the same way each time. Okay, and there I've done one of each of the examples. This is a very subtle, the traveling stitch is very subtle, it just moves across the background very subtly. And then I will continue working the rest of the chart, and I will meet you back here when it's all done. Here is the completed swatch. You can see that it looks very complex, very beautiful. These go to the left, these go toward the right, this one ambles back and forth. Beautiful, complex looking, but not terribly complex to do. Hope this helps.